Hey guys, it's Monday, August 22nd. We're back here at Slurve. I'm Steve with some cash game cornerstones for you. Hope you had a relatively decent Monday morning and are ready to take on this 8-game slate we got today. It's a nice size. I like this size of slate. It's not so small that everyone is on the same plays, but it's not so big that you feel like there's 20 different bases you want to cover. Cover the bases. That's a good one. Anyway, let's get started with it because there are a number of plays I'd like to bring up for you. Then remember, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we got our expert chats at 5 Eastern. So you can catch us there in a little bit. Or on Wednesday, we'll be back again. So, for catcher, Gary Sanchez, man, what an amazing start to a career he's having. He's making us forget all about Trevor Story. Well, no, not really. But still, he's having an awesome thing. He's catcher eligible, which is great. On FanDuel, he's still really cheap, 2.9. I don't really think there is much argument to going anywhere else. He faces Cody Martin today, who's kind of just a guy starting for the Mariners. So, yeah, I expect him to bounce back from what was, I think, a weak game yesterday. 4.3 on DK. I like him there, but it's a steep price to pay at catcher, so I would understand if you wanted to pay down a little bit to someone like Matt Wieters. You're going to notice the Orioles as a big-time general theme here because they were set to face Steven Strasburg, and he was scratched late. And now they are facing A.J. Cole, who was just called up from the minors, has pitched like less than 10 innings at the major league level. So the prices are all a little wrong for the Orioles, pretty much. So Matt Wieters is 3.5 on DK. It's a nice savings over Sanchez. And he's 2.5 on FanDuel. I still would just rather go Sanchez. And then if you really need to dig deep on DK, I like Zunino. I mean, you probably gathered by now that I frequently like Mike Zunino. He's a cheap guy that hits with power. I like Pineda a lot today also, and I'm not huge on targeting him, but he's only 2.9 on DK at a tough position, so I don't mind it too much. He's 3.1 on FanDuel, so forget about it. Go Sanchez. Another great spot for hitters tonight is the Cubs versus San Diego Padres and Edwin Jackson. Jackson is not that great. You know, he's probably a little bit overrated in the fantasy community right now because he threw that almost no-hitter or 7 innings of no-hit or something. He's just not that good. He's gotten really lucky. He's gotten really good BABIP, and I'm definitely targeting him with Cubs today. Rizzo is predictably expensive, especially on DK, 5.3. He's 4.2 on FanDuel. I'm also interested in Orioles. You know, rostering Chris Davis in cash always gives me a little bit of pause because he strikes out like 39% of the time. But you know, this guy's brand new to the majors. If he hangs one out over the plate, I think Crush is going to wave bye-bye to that ball. So he's 4.9 on DK, 3.6 on FanDuel. Great price there on FanDuel. Still pricey on DK, but a little bit cheaper than Rizzo. Second base, a few guys to consider. First of all, on FanDuel, Gene Segura against Folty. He is 3.5 on FanDuel and 5.2 on DK. So, I mean, you know, I don't totally hate him on DK, but I can't see finding that much salary for Segura. But on FanDuel, that's a fantastic price in a pretty decent matchup against Folty. He does get a bit more soft contact against righties than I'd like. But there's a lot of upside from Segura in terms of base stealing, too. And neither A.J. Pierzynski nor Tyler Flowers are particularly accomplished at throwing runners out. Anyway, I've been picking on not on the Orioles, I've been picking on the Nationals with the Orioles. And that's going to continue. Jonathan Scope. I've seen the lineup just came out, and I'm a little bit disappointed because Scope is like 8th. So that's not my favorite spot for him to be for a cash lineup. 3.8 on DK, 3.2 on FanDuel. He's pretty cheap, especially on DK. But you might also consider going with a Starlin Castro against the aforementioned Cody Martin, who's just kind of a guy, for 3.7 on DK and 2.6 on FanDuel. He's probably batting about 5th in the order, so a little bit of an advantage over Scope. But I don't mind going Scope. It's just just not my favorite play to roster a guy that low in the order in cash games. What is wrong with Jake Lamb? I don't know. I would love to roster Lamb today at almost any other time this season. He's super cheap, 4.3 on DK, 3.3 on FanDuel. He gets a matchup with Fulte. It's a nice one for him. However, I don't know if he's injured and playing through it or what, but he is 9 for his last 60 at bats in the last 15 games. And he's hit 2 home runs and no other extra base hits. 0 doubles, 0 triples. That's a crazy slump. That's beyond a slump. So I don't know that I can roster him today, even at this cheap price in this plus matchup. We got guys like Manny Machado on the table, going back to picking on Cole here, especially on FanDuel. 4.5 on DK, 3.8 on FanDuel. But remember, on DK, you can plug him in as a shortstop, too, so that's a big advantage. And, of course, there's Chris Bryant to talk about. I mentioned with Rizzo, they get Edwin Jackson. And Bryant might be in an even better spot as Jackson's been giving up more hard contact to right-handed batters. He's 5.5 on DK, 4.3 on FanDuel. It's just massively expensive on both sides, but Jackson does have the slate low strikeout percentage against righties and the second worst soft contact percentage. Meanwhile, if you're worried about the righty-righty matchup, Bryant has 20 of his 31 home runs against right-handed pitching. And if you're worried about the whole park thing, 16 of his 31 home runs have been away. And would it surprise you to learn that there have actually been 2 more home runs hit at Petco this season than Wrigley, 135 to 133. So it's not really much of a ballpark downgrade in that sense. I feel like I need that Morpheus belief. What if Morpheus meme? What if I told you that Petco was a good stadium to hit home runs in? Anyway, so those are the guys that I would consider at those positions, at that position. So it's shortstop. Don't forget about Manny Machado for DK, because I don't love these other guys so much on DK. We got Didi against Martin, Didi Gregorius. I like the play a whole lot, but he's 4.3 on DK. He's only 2.9 on FanDuel. Love it there. Unless you want to go with Addison Russell, who's 3.0 on FanDuel. Get in on some of this Edwin Jackson get in on the Petco home run derby, which is where the home run derby was. So there you go. He's 4.4 on DK Russell, and he's 3.0 on FanDuel. If I'm going to pay 4.3 for Didi or 4.4 for Russell, I'm going to find a couple $100 and pay 4.5 for Manny. So that's definitely where I'm looking on DK. On FanDuel, obviously you can't play him there, and there's some nice salary savings to be had with these other guys. There's sort of less outfielders than there are some days that I want to recommend. Let me get the Rockies out of the way first, because they're all in play to various degrees. Dahl, Cargo, and Parra. This is assuming Blackman is still out, which I think he will be. They all get Jimmy Nelson. This is a great matchup for left-handed batters, and not so great for right-handed batters. So I'm mostly only interested in the Rockies lefties, except maybe Arenado, but not for cash anyway. So on DK, Dahl is 4.8. On FanDuel, he's 3.5. It's practically a giveaway price on FanDuel. Cargo is 5.2, and he's 3.7 on FanDuel. That is a giveaway price for Cargo on FanDuel. Meanwhile, Parra is 3.1 on DK and 3.2 on FanDuel. Not in play on FanDuel for me. On DK, he's struggled a good bit, but that's a really cheap price for. It's not in Coors, but I think this is a really great game to get exposure to. The Rockies often go overlooked when they're outside of Coors, but Milwaukee is a great hitter's environment too. Jimmy Nelson just gives it up to left-handed batters. It's a strong park for left-handed batters. I think it's a really good situation for them. And also for some of the other guys on the Milwaukee side, like Keon Broxton, who's batting second, been on kind of a tear himself, and also he can run. Bettis and Hundley are not particularly good at preventing stolen bases. Broxton's 4.3 on DK and a real cheap 3.1 on FanDuel. Also, Ryan Braun, he's on the pricier side, so I don't know about him for cash, but if you can fit him, he's definitely in play. But I'm going to go back to picking on Cole with Trumbo and Jones, actually. 4.8 on DK for Trumbo, 4.6 for Jones. On FanDuel, Trumbo is only 3.3, just a huge bargain there, and Jones is 3.6, which is pretty cheap. And then some of these prices, I don't know what's going on. FanDuel, Michael Bourne. I mean, he is Michael Bourne. I get it. But against Fulte, nice matchup in Arizona. 4.2 on DK is 2.8 on FanDuel though is a nice bargain price. And then we also get Chris Young back today. He's back from the DL for the Red Sox. He's 3.5 on DK and 2.9 on FanDuel. Against Snell. I actually have a fair bit of interest in Snell, at least, so far. But I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. I'll get back to you on that. But all the same, I think at that price, Young is hitting from the right side of the plate, so it's a good thing for him there. I think it's worth taking a chance on. Make sure you come back by Slurve to see the expert chat in a little bit, or come see us on Wednesday when we do the next one, and come on by for the rundown where we give you all the written info you need to finalize those lineups. Good luck tonight, guys.